Okay, I'm going to start us off just because we have a busy night with a lot of stuff on it. So here we go. Welcome to everybody. Welcome to the piano area students, my colleagues, faculty here. All of you, our guests who are joining us tonight. This is a very special evening, the second evening in our festival of the Robert Jordan Piano Festival. And the first thing I want to do, first of all, if everybody has headphones, this is a good time to put them in. The sound is going to vary greatly between the videos because we have different qualities. So please put your headphones in. It's going to enhance the hearing experience tremendously. And I want to play for you some of Robert Jordan's playing. Here we go. That was Robert Jordan, a rare video of him. Actually, we get to see him play. So you're welcome to go hunt that video clip on YouTube and enjoy his beautiful playing. This festival is named after him. And today we're going to play homage to him and to many other composers and artists who are underrepresented. So before I even go further, I want to thank the foundation, the Robert Jordan Piano Festival Foundation, that made all of this possible, and make some important announcements. In the chat, if you all can find the chat, we posted a link to the program of today's performances, and there are a lot of links to other resources. You are welcome to follow us on that sheet. You can click the links on your own, and then just follow independently, or you can save it for later, whichever way pleases you, but that resource is there for you to follow. If you don't have the link, one of my FISCA friends, my FISCA angels, are going to post it again. Yes, guys? Somebody give me a thumbs up? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so that's a document. If you have a question, please put it in the chat in all caps, and one of these sweet angels is going to let me know that you have a question, and we'll bring it to the foreground. Regarding the sound, I apologize in advance. We've been working on trying to solve these issues all week long. The best that we can do is what we're doing right now, to ask you to put your headphones on, monitor your own volume. If the sound on your end, because of streaming Wi-Fi, whichever, is not so great, again, you can click on the sheet that we just shared with you, and you can watch the video independently. But hopefully with headphones and good speakers, everything is going to work just fine. Yeah, there are going to be commercials on YouTube, unfortunately, because somebody has to make money off of this. So please forgive us for the commercials. Important disclaimers. First disclaimer is that this is not a retrospective. This by no means was created as an effort to give you a complete retrospective of everything that is out there. The assignment was find one piece by one composer that you fell in love with, that you want to share with other people, and just sort of open the discussion to this topic, to this area. So consider this a potluck dinner, if you will, where everybody brought a dish. You might like it, you might not like it, that's okay. I'm hoping that at least one dish is going to be to your liking, and you walk away from this experience thinking, that was good. Yeah, so this is the overture, not the entire opera, okay? The last thing that I want to mention, since my friend David Hyde is going to pick this discussion up in 2 seconds, is to mention the Hyde Fund. The Hyde Fund was created to help us purchase scores by underrepresented composers. You can see behind me here, there are piles and piles of books, a lot of Florence Price, a lot of William Grant Steele. We purchased these scores with help of donations from people like yourselves. It's really important because we can then share these scores with the students, and they can learn the music, and they can become more familiar with this really treasure trove of wonderful repertoire. So if you want to learn more about the Hyde Fund, please put something in the chat, let us know, David or me, and we'll be happy to follow up with you. Okay, we're going to plunge in. We're already 8 minutes in, so I'm going to make mine very, very short. But when I started this journey this semester with the students looking for repertoire, I very quickly stumbled on a wonderful CD by Monica Gaylord, who was the pianist for the Toronto Symphony for many years. It's sort of a rare CD because I don't think she recorded anything but the CD. But what's on that CD is music by William Grant Steele, the 7 Traceries, music by Nathaniel Dett, the Cuckoo, the famous Cuckoo by Swanson. And from the first note that I heard her play, I fell in love with her playing. And then as a consequence, I fell in love with the music. So I'm going to play literally a minute of the Grant Steele piece played by Monica Gaylord for you. So hold on. So I can't escape this without doing this. Okay. Can you see my screen now? Can you hear it? So as you can hear, this music is very reminiscent of Debussy, Ravel, very impressionistic. It's actually, I don't know many of Grant Steele's work, but it actually sounds to me like a kind of a rare work in his oeuvre, in his work. So it's sort of an oddity, but I think that her playing is simply phenomenal and so beautiful and so sensitive. You can find the album, I think I linked to it. Yeah, I linked the entire album into the sheet, so you can click on it, you can listen to it. Some really beautiful playing on there. So that's my contribution. We're now going to go to David Hyde and Anthony Kelly. Gentlemen, I'm going to first play the video in its entirety, and then we'll take the floor for some questions, okay?
Hi everyone, greetings from Baldwin Auditorium at Duke University. I always think it's a lovely coincidence that I was a Fredonia Blue Devil for a while in my life and now have been a Duke Blue Devil for most of my career. Instead of discussing a particular work, I'm going to break with the assignment and talk a little bit about my friend and Duke colleague, Anthony Kelly. Anthony grew up about an hour from Durham, but was actually born in the hospital here at Duke University. He did his undergraduate and master's degree at Duke before going to UC Berkeley to get his PhD while studying with Ole Wilson. A few days before defending his dissertation, he landed a job as composer in residence for the Richmond Symphony and Boys Choir, where he stayed before returning home to Duke and Durham. I must tell you that Anthony is a beloved theory professor here. He's actually one of the few teachers at Duke that is really hard and demanding on his students, but they still love him. I always think it's his devotion to his students that keeps him from promoting his own work as a composer, which is why I wanted to step in and help with that just a little bit today. Anthony is a fine pianist himself, and you can hear it in his writing, but also feel it when you are playing his music. In the tradition of Chopin and Liszt, he really understands the capability of the piano, and his writing exploits the great range of the instrument. More importantly, as a pianist, his music fits extremely well in the hand, and that manages to make the most demanding passages playable and probably sound more difficult than they might actually be to execute. He writes in a style that he himself refers to as the new blues, and I'd like to let him explain that to you himself.
You remember I told you I loved Franz Liszt, but I didn't just like the virtuosity about Franz Liszt because there's that whole late period where he's writing really stark music, and I love the range. That's the first thing I love about Franz Liszt. Second thing I love about him is the fact that he did those Hungarian Rhapsodies based kind of on folk music, on gypsy, gypsy folk music, right? And his sort of pseudo ethnomusicological interest, his and Bartok's love for that, and then William Grant Still's love for that, and then Duke Ellington's love for that, and then Mary Lou Williams. Like, it becomes this sort of continuum of like re-engaging with oral tradition through written practices. That's something. Yeah. And I call it, once again, I always call it new blues because to me it's drawn more out of a blues aesthetic than it is out of, it's not starting with, Stockhausen or anything like that. It's starting with, how does it feel to sit on a porch and hear a harmonica get played? And listen, that's not necessarily my origin point, but it's something I've grown to appreciate more, those settings of informal music.
As a piano teacher, I appreciate that his piano music comes in a variety of levels of difficulty. He has a couple of short preludes, a series of bagatelles, some short and easily approachable, and others long and really demanding. His other piano works include Essays for Piano, which is a multi-movement work, Variations and Fugues, a piano concerto, and even an invention. I'd like, though, to let you listen to a performance of his Bagatelle No. 2, entitled 70. It was written on the occasion of Robert Ward's 70th birthday, Robert Ward being Anthony's mentor while he was at Duke. The melody contains 70 notes. This is a performance by my own student, Andre Hall, at a recent piano area. hear the obvious connections to the jazz and blues roots that Anthony discusses in his video, the melding of oral and written traditions, and lest you think his music is only on a small scale, just a few moments of his dazzling piano concerto entitled Africa America. I hope I was able to give you enough background and music sampling to inspire you to explore more of his writing. I know in my own experience, the more I explore his music, the more I am struck by its beauty and its joy.
Beautiful pieces. Oh. And I'm back. David, Anthony, hi, welcome, Anthony. Loved both pieces. I'm eager to see the score of the concerto. What a great piece, great energy. Anybody has questions for David or Anthony? I know that we have quite a few scores in our folder. Again, the link is on the first sheet under the Unrepresented Composer Music folder. So if you want to see more of Anthony's work, the bagatelles are there, I believe, and some other pieces. You're welcome to that. Yeah, Sean.
Who is the pianist on the concerto?
Thanks for asking. Donald Fox, who's based in Boston. He himself is a great composer, and he has a really sort of a cogent sense of music theory. So he and I worked together for 3 days on how he would improvise. You heard some of him improvising, and then near the end, he was playing a more sort of structured. It's interesting the example you picked, David, because you picked my two pieces that like draw on what I call the blues chorale texture. You know, right at the end, they were doing like the chorale section, and then the 70 is also sort of like a chorale texture because I love jazz Bach as well.
Students, piano area students, do you have any questions for Mr. Anthony, Mr. Kelly, or Mr. Hyde? No? Everybody's being shy. What's your message?
Can I add one more thing?
Please go ahead.
The climax of 70 is the very high F sharp, which is also the 70th note on the piano. So that was a little extra detail I put in thinking about
Nice.
that.
Annie would love to hear the whole concerto. The whole concerto is linked in that spreadsheet, so you can click on that and see the whole concerto. It's really beautiful, beautiful work. Anthony, what's your hope for your music? How are you hoping to get all of this beautiful work out to the public, to us young pianists?
I've been working for the last 3 years, making new sort of new editions. A lot of them were in manuscript, and I finally put 95% of my compositions into actual notation. They're into digital software, Sibelius. Sometimes I have to use Finale because those two softwares do slightly different things better than each other. But anyway, thanks to David and his great work of sharing music with students. I love when a teacher can connect with a student through music of a living composer. What a treasure David is and what he does with that. So that's to me, that's one of the most gratifying ways to have my music sort of curated. But I will also, my other plan is to sort of have a website where you can order any of the pieces if you want the sheet music. But I'm a little behind on that, but by the summer I should have it together.
Fantastic. And I think the site that Rob shared with us in the last conversation, the Acida the Piano, right, Rob? That's a really remarkable site that is collecting music for solo piano by underrepresented composers. So maybe that's a good place to post about it as well.
Thank you. And by the way, Rob, you're a hero. I love what you post on Facebook, and what you're doing is legendary. And listen, I work with once a month, I work with a bunch of really prominent African American composers. We call ourselves a Composers of Color Collective, including Anthony Davis and people like Adolphus Hailstork and something, Bill Banfield, and we're always singing your praises, Rob. So thanks.
Okay, we're going to move this program along, and I think we're going to skip, since Terence, I don't think Terence is here. If he shows up later on, we'll do his piece as well. But for now, I'm going to pass the baton to Anne.
Sure.
Great.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the composer Jonathan Bailey Holland. So Jonathan was born 40 some years ago in Flint, Michigan, grew up in Flint, Michigan, went from Flint to the Curtis Institute, where he studied composition with Ned Rorem. From there, went to Harvard, where he finished his PhD in composition. And now he is chair of composition at the Boston Conservatory. He's an incredibly prolific composer. He's written in virtually every genre. He has some wonderful songs, which is how I first got to know him as a composer. He's also written a few operas, quite extensively for orchestra, many works that he composed when he was a composer in residence with Cincinnati Symphony for a number of years, and loads of chamber music, which I'm going to talk about today. In the links that are in the program, there's a really wonderful NPR article that talks specifically about the piece I'm going to share with you today, and also has a great interview with Jonathan where he talks about his very eclectic musical upbringing in Flint. And he also talks about his identity as an African-American composer and sort of his feelings about wanting to be labeled as an African-American composer or not wanting to be labeled. I want to share a quote from that article. He says, "I felt like I didn't want there to be any adjective in front of the word composer because I had to make a mark as a composer first and foremost," he said. "I thought it to the point that I wanted to make sure that nothing in my music would have suggested anything about who I was." So that's him speaking about himself as a young composer. And over the years, his feelings really evolved on the topic. And now a lot of his more recent works deal with issues of racism and social justice, including the piece I want to share with you today, which is called Synchrony. He wrote it in 2015 in response to the death of Freddie Gray in Baltimore while he was in police custody. This is a work for piano, oboe, bassoon, violin, and cello. And it also includes some audio clips. There's a speech from Obama, President Obama, actress Cicely Tyson, and also the audio, which we've all heard from Eric Garner's last moments when he was murdered by police in 2014. This is a piece that was commissioned by the Radius Ensemble, and the recording that I have is from the premiere performance. We're going to just drop in to the climax of the piece. I hope that you'll find some time to go back and listen to the whole piece. It's really very powerful, but Eleron, if you want to cue that up. So it's hard to say anything after that. It's a really powerful piece of music. Powerful also, I think, as social commentary on the issue of police brutality. I wanted, though, to leave you with a little bit of another piece that he wrote for solo piano, since we're a room full of pianists. This is a piece that he wrote for Sarah Bobb, the pianist that you just heard with the Radius Ensemble performance. He wrote this for her in 2013. It's called The Intimacy of Harmony. And stylistically, it's very different. So Eleron, if you want to just whatever 30 seconds or something till we hear a little bit of this piece.
Wow, interesting stuff.
So that's it. I invite you to explore more the music of Jonathan Bailey Holland.
Do you know if there's more? There are more pieces for solo piano by him?
I think that's the only solo piano piece that he lists in his catalog. So
Oh,
there may
wow.
be others, but or at least on his website.
Fascinating. And how did you come to learn about his music?
Well, I used to play with Radius Ensemble, and Jonathan's first wife was a wonderful soprano that I used to collaborate with. And so we were, when I was 20 something and we were all sort of young musicians in Boston, I got to know him a little bit.
Fantastic. So it all stays in the family, like
It does. It does.
fabulous. If anybody has questions for Anne, please post them in the chat, and I'm going to pass the baton to Rob.
All right, I have to unmute myself twice. Welcome, everyone. Eleron, thank you for having me, and again, Anthony, thank you for your kind words. Tonight, I'm going to be introducing you to a very short work that I'm going to be able to play for you in its entirety by Sylvester Revueltas. Revueltas was born literally the day before the 20th century, December 31st, 1899, and he died at a very young age of 40 years old. This work, Allegro, was written just a year before he died. Revueltas is more well known for his larger orchestral work. Senza Maya is one that's really well known, but there's a number of larger works, and he did a lot of film scoring in the 30s or in the 20s and 30s, and his music is really kind of fascinating in the fact that he combines some of the modal mixtures and the integration of using of modes, scales, against more chromatic work, like Stravinsky did, and also some polytonality that Bartok was using just a few years before, along with Mexican musical traditions. And he was very specific in that he didn't try to bring tunes or musics from Mexico into his music, but he would take more of the concepts of it. And that's what you're going to find in this piece. Basically, there's two different sets of juxtapositions going on. You have a lot of hemiola, 3 against 2. It's in 6/8, but there's a lot of 3 against that. But at the same time, it's also he takes a little bit from Bartok in that the right hand is in one key area, or at least a key signature, no flats or sharps in the top staff, and 3 flats in the bottom staff. And even with that, there's a lot of chromaticism in the middle section. It's a very short ABA work, and it's, for me, it was kind of it was fun looking at this piece because he goes to town throughout the entire piece, and it's so intricate and so much tension throughout the rest of the piece. And then at the very end, he does a 5/1 at the end, just CF. And then, which is kind of fun because I was thinking the right hand could be maybe C major-ish and the left hand could be C minor-ish, but then he ends the whole thing on F. So, theoretically it was kind of interesting. So, yeah, I let's see. Hopefully you should be able to hear this. But this is actually Elron, can I share my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Because I note set this earlier today so y'all could actually see it. All right, so let's do that, and we'll do that. Awesome, you should be able to see that. And let's hear it. And that's it.
That was fab.
A lot in a little amount of space.
So how come you chose him of all the wonderful composers that you're familiar with? How come he got the prize?
Well, it was a combination of I love Revueltas's work because he's known. There are a number of really well-known Mexican composers. Carlos Chavez is one of them, but Revueltas is always kind of like he's over in the corner. He was very kind of quiet. He wasn't a great he wasn't great at getting his own music out. So it really wasn't until after his death that his music came about. And I have always been drawn to it because I love the music of Stravinsky and Bartok as well. And then I saw this piece that was a minute long, and with your own time limit, I'm like, oh well, this is good. You can play the whole
twice, yeah.
So I thought that would work out nicely.
Is there more for piano by him?
He's got a number of works. It's kind of hard to find them, and be honest, I'm not sure. That could be something that an intrepid publisher might look at doing, because I think there'd be more and more folks interested in playing his music. But I think he's got maybe 4 or 5 other solo works that he wrote. But like I said, he was so busy as a film composer as well as a violinist and a conductor that it was hard for him to find time to build his own website as well.
Understood. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any more questions for the esteemed Rob Deemer, you can post them in the chat. And with that, I'm going to pass the baton to the wonderful Jamie Lee Sampson. Hi, Jamie.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
We're all good. We're all good. So, do you want me to just?
All right. So, I recorded this intro. So yeah, let's play the intro. I said it really well before.
I'm going to play the intro. Bear with me for 2 seconds.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jamie Lee Sampson. I'm a composer, entrepreneur, bassoonist, and author. I'm one of the composition faculty here at Fredonia, and I also teach an array of special subjects. The piece I want to talk about today is called Pralaya, written by Evan Williams. It's for solo piano and electronics. Evan's a conductor and composer who teaches at Rhodes College in Memphis. And as a composer, he is strongly influenced by the New York City post-minimalists David Lang, Julia Wolf, and Michael Gordon. What I love about Evan's music and what you'll hear in Pralaya is Evan's own style of post-minimalism. It has more than repetition. There's a sense of layered development to his work and a blending of musical worlds. And that blending of his musical worlds is strongly compounded by the fact that he uses electronics in this work. This isn't Evan's only work for piano, and it's certainly not the only one where he uses repetitive layering of different styles. One of my absolute favorite pieces that Evan wrote is a harpsichord concerto called Dead White Man Music, where he uses this layered technique with Baroque idioms. So it sounds a little bit like Bach has influenced this, but he also uses blues melodies and some pop bass line drives. It's really quite cool. But today, as a composer, I wanted to bring something a little different to the table. The world of solo repertoire has been wildly expanded by the addition of electronics and what some people call extended or contemporary techniques. This provides composers with a broader sonic palette with which to paint their musical ideas. We're going to listen to the first movement of Pralaya, which includes not only electronic process sounds, but also the pre-recorded but unmanipulated interview with J. Robert Oppenheimer. The title of this work, Pralaya, means disillusion in Hindu and is tied to the philosophy of cycles of life and destruction. I want to give a quick content warning because the first movement does include videos that depict warfare, violence, and pollution, but I hope you have a chance to listen to the whole work at some point because it does end on a message of hope. Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoy Evan Williams' Pralaya.
Thank you for joining Art After Dark here at the Norton Museum of Art. I'm Blanche Williams, and we are Jazz on J Street.
We knew the world would not be the same.
So I want to introduce everyone to our vibraphone here. His name is Alan Wilkov.
Few people laughed.
Next to him is guitarist, vocalist, international recording artist, Phil Fest.
I like that. I like that.
Timothy Moss, the boss, on the drums. Barefootin' on bass, Bert Boyce. We also have with us Robert, we call him Bob.
the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty. And to impress him, takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
Wow, Jamie, we have a lot to talk about here. Well, a lot to talk about. First of all, so is the piano gets altered through this process of his composition, or is it pre-prepared piano? Like what's the deal?
It actually is. I don't think it's prepared piano. I believe it is live processed. So as the piano is being played, it's being brought through computer, processed in the computer, then pumped back out through some large monitors. But that's only in some of the movements. The further you get, the less processed the piano becomes. But there's also some really wild stuff in the last movement of juxtaposing electronically generated sounds with what the piano is doing, which I love. I really had to debate like movement 4 or movement 1, but I think you have to start with movement 1, don't you?
You do. And so if one of my students wanted to learn this piece, is there a score and a CD for the images and everything, or
There would
how
be,
does that work?
yeah. I picked this piece, and Evan is I met Evan through Bowling Green, but he's a member of the Composers Collective that both Rob and I belong to, and of course, everybody here knows Dr. Smith, or most of you know Dr. Smith. He said, you picked a piece that I'm not sure we actually carry in our store. Did you think about that? And I was like, I'm sharing cool music. Please leave me alone.
I talked to my friend David Hyde about purchasing it for our students here. So
yeah, absolutely. But I think it's one of those pieces that's for the collegiate level. It's got electronics, but it's got a manageable amount of electronics, which is why I chose this one, which is why I love this one for this group.
and the visuals would come, I assume, with the score in some form? Yeah. That I think the visuals are spectacular. It's such a beautiful combination of content. I would be remiss if I didn't plug your work, Arguments,
Thank you.
as part of this. It's the only thing, right, Jamie? Am I correct? It's the only solo piano work we have so far?
It's the only solo piano work I have so far. No one has asked me for more.
Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, I think the goblet has been thrown or been dropped, whatever the expression is.
Mic has been
Yes.
dropped, maybe.
Mic has been dropped.
There we go.
Thank you, Jamie. That was spectacular. What a great piece.
You're welcome.
Hey, we're so behind, I can't even start. So we're just going to jump into the next one. I believe the next one is by Kim, right? Yeah, Kim is going to take us back in time to Clara Schumann. Hi, Kim. I'm just going to start by playing the video. Here we go.
I'm playing Clara Schumann's Variations on a Theme by Robert Schumann. I think the thing I love the most about this piece is that you're given the theme, and then you get to hear that theme develop over 7 variations. You hear anger, joy, sadness, so many different emotions. There's so much push and pull. I love Clara's really sensitive and unique sense of harmony in the piece. It pulls the listener in instantly. I was fortunate enough to read some of the letters between Robert and Clara Schumann. In one of the letters Robert sent to her, he was asking her to drop her career and join him on his tour so that they could be together. Her response to him was that if he can't appreciate and value her career as much as she does, then they couldn't be together. She didn't let that stop her from having a fantastic career and writing incredible piano works and performing and teaching. She really did it all. Clara wrote this in 1853, and she presented it to Robert in 1854 on his birthday. This was one of the last compositions that she wrote because in 1854, Robert's health took a steep decline. Her career was focusing more towards performing and teaching students. I think it's a shame that a lot of Clara's compositions are in the dark. I hope that in the future, when you hear the name Schumann, you'll have to ask yourself, are they talking about Clara Schumann or Robert Schumann?
That's such a good point. You don't know it, but Kim is actually sitting here in the studio with me, and she's my volume monitor. So we apparently can't speak at the same time in the same space. So if you have questions for her, just put them in the chat below, and we will revisit Mrs. Schumann later on in our session with the last piece. Esther Park is going to be presenting her romances. So hold off on Clara Schumann. We'll be back to her. I'm going to go very quickly to Hannah. Hi, Hannah. We're going to do the presentation on Libby Larsen. Here we go.
Libby Larsen, born in 1950, has composed over 500 works ranging from solo instrument to opera to chamber music. In 1983, she was the first female composer to be named Composer in Residence for the Minnesota Orchestra. Her music is filled with syncopation and unique harmonies that invite the listener to open their ears to the world created by each piece. All of her compositions are designated to fit into a theme such as energy, light and dark, and mysticism. White Pieces, composed in 2018, fits into the theme of just music. This 5-movement piece, composed for solo piano, is only played on the white keys of the piano, thus the name White Pieces. The third movement, which you're about to hear, has a jazz feel to it and is highly based on sevenths, fourths, and broken octaves. The unique textures, surprising dynamic shifts, and repeating motives bring character and life to this work as a whole. I hope you enjoy.
That was cool.
The piece you're about to hear is by
No,
Anne
no.
Rose. Anne was
Oh.
born in South Korea.
Why is that playing? And I'm back. Hello. Hannah, tell us how did you learn about Libby Larsen?
I actually discovered her through one of my former piano teachers. She introduced me. I'm looking at putting a lot of female composers on my recital and was looking for different composers who obviously have been underrepresented in the repertoire. I was curious what she had for solo piano. She has a couple other works. If you go to her website, libbylarsen.com, there's a lot of works for solo piano and for other chamber groups. She's done so many different things. But yeah, just former piano teachers introduced me to her.
Fantastic. I want to mention that I think Kim is going to put a link in the chat. We have the sheet music to this beautiful piece in the folder. So if you want to see it, you can go there. And also the piece before. Yeah, no, not the piece before. There was something else. Yeah, Jamie's piece is on there as well. So if you want to see a copy of Jamie's piece, it's in that folder as well. So please be sure to open that link. Just click it now, look at it later. Well, thank you, Hannah. That was really great. I don't know how you managed to turn the piano backwards, but that was spectacular. We're going to jump to Stephen McChesney, and he's going to tell you about George Walker.
Yeah, so you can just play the video, and then I can probably just talk after. Hello everybody, my name is Stephen McChesney. I'm a grad student at SUNY Fredonia, and I'm going to be presenting on one of my favorite 20th century composers, George Walker. George Walker was an African-American composer that wrote about 100 total compositions in his life, ranging to symphonies, concertos, song cycles, and solo piano works. George Walker was an honored composer in America that had his works performed by every major orchestra in the country, and was the first African-American composer to win a Pulitzer Prize for Music in 1996. Of course, this was an incredible achievement for his time. The works of Debussy, Stravinsky, as well as African-American spirituals, blues, and jazz were all major influences to Walker's work. It is from such influences that George Walker developed his own distinct musical voice. He says, "I had to find my own way, a way of doing something that was different, something that I would be satisfied with." I would definitely say he succeeded in finding something that was beautifully unique, something that a listener can identify as being George Walker. The nature of Walker's work is highly intellectual, and does not overtly display emotionalism. His musical concerns are for formal construction and an emphasis on counterpoint and chromaticism. Does this mean his music is not emotional? No, not by any means. In fact, I would say that his music tries to convey incredibly complex concepts that challenges the listener to open their mind to find deeper meaning. This is music that really pays with repeated listenings and study. With that being said, here's my own performance of the first movement of his second piano sonata. This is a very beautiful piece, and I hope you enjoy.
Beautiful, Steve. Really, really great.
Thank you.
So yeah, Walker is definitely one of my takeaways from this experience because I have not heard of him before. And there's so much, right? There are how many piano sonatas?
There's five total. And as I said in the video, he wrote 100 total compositions through his life,
Wow.
ranging from like chamber music to symphonies. There's a really amazing trombone concerto he wrote actually that a friend introduced me to the other week, and I'm like, this is really good. This is really awesome.
And on Thursday, Natasha and I are going to play the first movement of his cello sonata, which is just exquisitely beautiful. I'm very reminiscent of Barber, right? I mean, I hear a lot of Barber in here. I mean, Copland Barber, this sort of monolithic sound. It's definitely very, very distinct and very, to me, very American sounding. But beautiful performance of the piece and beautiful video. So we're going to finish, we're not that behind, but we're going to finish this half with Jody, who's going to tell us about Hiromi. Jody, are you here? Hi, Jody. We can't hear you. Jody's mute right now. You know what? You're going to figure that out. We're going to take the break. And when we come back from the break, we're going to hear Jody tell us about Hiromi. How is that? So just leave everything as it is, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. This is your chance to get a drink, go to the bathroom, and we'll reconvene in 5.
Why does that keep happening?